because they're going to say, well, yeah, just send me a letter from your bank. Just tell me, what do you have in the bank? Okay, you got $1 million in the bank over there? Fantastic.
It turns out, how great could it be that one of the biggest national or international banks that's in the country that just so happened to get sold, that's kind of weird, has all these, well, they call them fraudulent. Now, let me ask you guys, what do you think? If you come to another country and your income is from some job you do back in the city that you just came from, like, should that not count as the way that you pay for your house in the new country? Should you have to not count this money? Now, forget about the fact that it's probably like an illegal, money laundering operation. But let's just say that you did have that job for real, right? And that was how you're paying for this house. Why is that not cool? Why is that considered fraud? Or is it just the fact that like it was like fraud on top of fraud and it was so blatant?
How do you verify it? How do you verify income being earned in Beijing? You'd have to have a whole department to be able to undergo the same steps that Canadian income is verified. Like you have to look at the letter of employment, make the phone call, read the bank statements, right? Like
those are real.
The verification standards are going to be very different when it comes to verifying Beijing income. And how do you make that phone call? You'd have to have a whole separate department. So if they can't verify it, well, then they can't use it. That's the rules that we all play by, right? So I don't think it's looking at HSBC specifically or at any bank. It's not really a matter of should it be allowed. It's not allowed, right? And we all have to play on the same field. All the banks have to play on the same field.
Right. But like
it's always, Darryl, it's always been like that though, just so you know, is foreign buyers, they have a 35% down payment requirement. It's easier to get them a mortgage than it is a Canadian because they're just can't verify, like Mark's saying, like to be able to, like, you don't have credit here. So if you have credit in Canada and it's bad, you're not getting a mortgage. If your income doesn't qualify, you're not getting a mortgage. But when you're coming from another country, you're like, okay, you're I know. But on as far as the product, as far as the guidelines that the actual banks are saying, because they're going to say, well, yeah, just send me a letter from your bank. Just tell me, what do you have in the bank? Okay, you got $1 million in the bank over there? Fantastic. As opposed to here where everything's very verified, they have a system. And Mark's right. Each country would have to be under the same scrutiny that Canadian banks are, and that's impossible. So they said, okay, let's do 35% down. So we'll take on that extra risk. And this is a product because at the end of the day, the banks are there to create stimulus for the economy. The banks are here to create mortgages so that we've got more money in the economy and that they can make more money, and that they've obviously underwritten those deals at 35% and said, even if they are scams, we are not taking the risk. Maybe the taxpayer is, maybe, whoever we're back the banks are, but at 35% down, we feel pretty comfortable.
Yeah.
So that 10%
foreign buyer
difference when they're
don't come to Canada until you buy a house first. Buy a house first as a foreign national and then move to Canada. You'll already own. Actually, that's illegal right now. You can't do that. But
like, so how are people's ratios working? Like for real? Like when people use their real ratios, where the hell can people afford a house? Like where does a house cost something that people are actually with real normal jobs, which apparently, okay, so TK thinks everybody makes 150K, which is not true.
Everyone
right,
makes
TK?
100K. I said not 150.
Sorry.
But I'm telling
100.
you, listen, let's ask Mark. Mark's looking at these applications. We had a guy on our show last week and we're like, do any of your friends not make 100K? And he's just like, no, every one of them makes 100K.
He's a fucking engineer though, bro. He's an engineer.
I'm
they
just
all
saying.
make good money, but he's not typical.
The average person
he
right
still
now
had to live at home with his folks.
The average person who's young, who's been like eager and wants to get into the housing market. And yes, my sample pool is much different than if I was, working at a soup kitchen or something like that. But Mark, how much money do people really make?
In London right now, if you're going to get a house, I'm seeing an application. A couple's going to make at least 120, if not
household income.
That's minimum household income.
A couple.
Yeah,
before
that's
tax.
Like the lowest. Like there's not many of those. And the guy makes 110, and the
what
girl's
do you
got
get?
$10,000
What kind of house?
from her.
What house does that get you?
That doesn't get you a house. That might get you like a townhouse
A townhouse
or an
in
apartment
London.
condo.
So
Yeah.
a household income of 120 gets you a townhouse in London.
A
Okay.
townhouse or a very, very like low priced house in London.
So
Now,
I'm not that old, but like when I was getting married, if you made $120,000 household income,
yeah,
you were fucking loaded, man. You were living the life. Like things were good. You could get a great house, you know, upgrade the shit out of it, have nice cars, go on vacations. Like everything was beautiful.
yeah,
Now that gets you a townhouse in London. Like, no offense to London, but like that wasn't a townhouse there wasn't the fucking number
yeah,
one podium,
So Daryl,
right?
the income that you just talked about there is no longer the same money. And so the
yeah.
dollar
Oh,
obviously being worth way less because like I won't like say how old you are,
garbage.
but that was a long time ago, you
It's a
coming out
long
of high
time
school.
ago.
And now it's 250K household income and you're going to
Yeah.
get $1 million mortgage and you're going to go and buy that same house. So what's the difference?
What's the difference? The
Yeah.
difference, what do you mean? What's the
Well,
difference? Right now, that million,
back then, a household income of 120 was like the educated people who did well and did everything
no, but
right
you
and
had
followed the path.
savings too.
Now the educated people come out, they have household income of 250. They each make 125, husband and wife, and they got their little savings. They got their little, they put together that 20%. They're going to go get $1 million
250.
mortgage and they're going to have a nice life. I don't
TK
know.
is
Mark, am
on
I wrong?
some
Am I
planet there.
delusional?
250
Do I
people
only
coming
talk to
out.
like the richest like people
Yeah.
out there? I don't feel like I do. I'm a middle class guy. All my friends are middle class. We're all middle class.
Oh,
Well, I
what's their
think
last name? Rothschild? All your clientele? Rothschild and
I'm
fucking
telling you,
Morgan?
it's just simple last names. I was a middle class guy.
Trudeau, maybe? A couple of Trudeaus in the family?
Mark, tell me I'm right or tell me I'm wrong. Either way,
I
I'm
think
okay.
I think you're halfway there. But it's happened so
That's
quick
good.
over the past few years, right? Like
Right.
120K in 2019 in London,
It was
that
good.
got you into the rich neighborhood.
Yeah.
Now
TK.
you're lucky to get low detached, if not a nice townhouse.
That needs
And the
work too,
ones
right?
that needs work, yeah.
Hey guys, thanks for watching our clips channel. Why don't you go and check out some more clips? We got lots of other good content somewhere over here. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Boom.
That was good.
That was good. That was good. I like that. That was good.